Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness here. Alright, I've said in numerous videos that I do not believe in the hypertrophy rep range theory, and I'm going to try to explain that for you guys just a little bit today. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Alright, this isn't a topic I'm going to be able to cover in just a single video or even 3 or 4 videos, but I just kind of want to get some of the basics on this. I think this concept of the hypertrophy rep range theory of being this 8 to 12 is extremely reductionist, and it shows a complete lack of understanding of the mechanisms by which the body adapts and grows. Yes, there's data showing that in the short term, when very low volumes of training are used, that this type of rep range can produce superior hypertrophy. But this all goes to shit when you start doing longer term studies to where there are things besides neural adaptation for low reps going on, when you start dealing with higher volumes of training. And hypertrophy goes way beyond just rep ranges. It has to do with things like total workload, total time under tension, volume of training, intensity of training. These things are all factors, and when you try to make it reductionist like that to make it simple for people, sure, it makes it more simple, but it doesn't make it completely truthful. And there are plenty of experts out there who feel that for long-term hypertrophy programs, high reps such as 8 to 12 should actually take kind of a back seat. And I know guys who think the dynamic effort work, and when I say guys, I mean guys with master's degrees and ups in exercise science who train pro athletes, who say that things like dynamic effort work is potentially superior for hypertrophy to the hypertrophy rep range. So let's step back and take a look at low reps and hypertrophy. Yesterday I covered in a video, I'm going to put it here and down below, some basics on neural adaptation versus hypertrophy as a response to training. So watch that so you'll kind of get a feel for what I'm talking about. And then here, and I'll put it down below also, I discussed progressive overload patterns without training to failure. And I gave an example there that I want to jump to in a minute. You talk to anyone who really knows their stuff and has read exercise science books, no one's going to argue that something like 5x5 sets across with 75% intensity or 3 sets of 10 with 70% intensity are not both hypertrophy work, and they both induce large amounts of hypertrophy. Neither one of those are considered powerlifting by any means. Those are both bodybuilding. It's that one of them induces hypertrophy more through metabolic fatigue, the 3x10, and the other is more strength-based. Because the issue you run into with metabolic work, and this is why programs like FAT and all of your really good, successful, advanced bodybuilder programs require nonlinear periodization or undulating reps, to where you are alternating higher and lower reps and undulating training styles throughout the week and the weeks in order to keep from stalling. Because generally with more metabolic work, you stall much easier, and when progression stops, you stop growing. So you need to be working back and forth between neural efficiency and strength hypertrophy both, and more metabolic fatigue back and forth, or you're not going to continue to grow unless you continue to add new drugs to your stack in higher doses. So for people who don't want to use drugs, or for people who don't want to keep adding more drugs to whatever they're using, they're going to have to use a system like that. They can't just spend all their time in the hypertrophy rep range. It's not going to work. But let's step back and look at that pattern that I put forward. When you look at the 3x3, and like I said, if you're doing it and you're bench pressing twice a week and you run a 4-week pattern where you take 85% of your 1 rep max, which is enough to recruit all available muscle fibers on every single rep when you start dealing with that sort of intensity, and you start with 3 sets of 3 on your first session, you are inducing a small amount of hypertrophy, but it's not enough tension because it's only 9 total reps, but it is 9 total reps with all muscle fibers recruited. So it's giving mostly neural efficiency, but as you progress in each training session, you add 1 working set, you're not really inducing more neural efficiency with those extra working sets. What you're doing is you're gaining neural efficiency the first week. And then the other weeks as you progress, and you add a set until you get to 10 sets of 3, you are adding volume, you're adding workload with the same neural efficiency. And every single week as you go further into the program, you're gaining less neural efficiency and more hypertrophy. And by adding that volume, you're actually inducing a lot of hypertrophy, and it's going to peak around the 9 to 10 sets of 3, because you start looking at 10 sets of 3, you're inducing just as much tension time as you were with 3 sets of 10, but you're using a hell of a lot more weight. And then you would deload, you would recover, you would go back and add more weight, and then use the same progression pattern. So that what you do with that, you're doing neural efficiency for power, and then that peaks out really quick, and then it's all hypertrophy. All of the strength gains after that are a result of hypertrophy. And then if you're able to go back and add 10 more pounds when you start the 3x3 back over, you're not doing that because you got more neural efficient in the later weeks. You did that because you hypertrophied enough to get stronger, and the strength gains from that are purely from muscle fiber size. So what you find is that you can induce very large amounts of hypertrophy through power training programs through the volumistic approach. And so you stagger alternating neural efficiency with hypertrophy in a power program, and someone can get very big very quickly while getting very strong at the same time, doing a system like that without ever going over 3 reps on their main lifts. So what you can see right there, once volume increases and you're using volume as your means of progression, a powerlifting program very, very quickly turns into a hypertrophy program, because you have to have hypertrophy to get stronger. No one has ever bench pressed 500 pounds without massive pecs, delts, and triceps. So in order to get stronger, it is an absolute requirement that you induce maximum hypertrophy. And all powerlifters and strength athletes know this. And it seems weird to me that oftentimes bodybuilders and people who work only with bodybuilders don't seem to understand this. Alright guys, I've rambled on a bit more than I needed to on this topic this morning, so I will discuss this further in later videos. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.